What's up, everybody? This is NBA at the Bar, and we're your hosts. I'm TA.
And it's G Money.
And we are ready to get it popping,
Yes,
ready
indeed.
to get it cracking with you. Hey, and we're being brought to you by ATB Media Network. And so excited to have all of our new viewers. You know, as we continue to get through this season, we're always picking up new viewers every single day, and just want to say hello, what's going on? Please interact with us. I need you to do me a quick favor. I need you to like, download, and subscribe to be a part of this goodness that we bring you every single week. And talking about some goodness that we have every single week, we got some goodness that we sipping on every single week.
Yes, indeed.
And for me, I'm sipping on Domaine, some French award-winning yak that most of y'all don't know about, but I be putting y'all up on game. And G Money, what you sipping on?
You know what? And I'm drinking on this Shell Dag. Okay,
award-winning Shell Dag. I would encourage y'all to go find that Shell Dag because I don't even like that blended Scotch deal. But that Shell Dag.
Well, no, sir. Let me cut. Au contraire, mon frere, in your Frenchness. Okay, this is single malt. Okay, we getting fancy today.
He's getting fancy today, like his jacket.
Shell Dag.
This is a fancy mamma jamma right here.
Yeah, well, you
homegrown.
Yeah, well, you know, I had to get jazzy for the new year.
Get jazzy. Speaking of jazzy, we're going to talk about some jazzy a little bit later.
I think we are. We might do that. Yeah.
But you know what? As we jump into this episode, you know, this NBA season is long, right?
Yep.
And so many things happen. And so we saw this season start off with Ja Morant not being available.
Yep.
Then we got this chance to see him after 25 games come in and take the league by storm and just absolutely crush it. First game back, hits the game winner. And you saw this team playing at a different level, a different heightened urgency and excitement that they were playing with. Crush the Lakers. And then you saw, you're like, the question was, oh my God, is this team going to sit over here and make a run and get back into that playoff hunt? And, they had lost so many games earlier, like, but we felt good that with Ja Morant there, Super Ja, that he was going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And then
got hurt.
Unfortunately, what happened?
That's horrible in practice, bro. Like I know he's devastated by that. Certainly, this is going to be something to where you can imagine that he's going to refocus and be even more on fire next year because next year will be a clean slate. But it's got to be real disappointing.
It definitely has to be real disappointing. What's crazy is I experienced that same type of injury in practice. It actually was the shoot around before a game while I was in college. And, messing around and you're sitting over here, I could jump out the gym. Not quite like Ja Morant, but I could jump out the gym, as you know.
Yeah,
you remember.
You had a couple lob dunks in your life.
I take off and sit over and try to do some crazy dunk and got hung and tore my shoulder up.
And for those who have not been paying attention to the internet, Ja Morant tore his rotator cuff. I believe that's what it was. So newsflash, okay, you're hearing it here. If you ain't heard it on every other network, okay, he tore his rotator cuff, gone for the year.
I think anybody listening to this podcast follows basketball pretty closely and recognizes that he got hurt. And
it was unfortunate.
But it's so funny how things happen, in life, and you have to sit over and find the silver lining in it. And I believe that there is a silver lining for this team. And I think that the biggest silver lining is that this team is not going to perform well this year. There's no chance for them to get into the playoffs. And they're going to get a very advantageous pick in next year's draft. And so when you look at this team, when Adams is back off of injury, Ja is back off of injury, and then unbeknownst to them, they're going to have a high draft pick to sit over here and couple with that mix. They literally are going to be in a position to fill the one weakness, the one low spot that they have in their team. And so I'm excited for them because even though they have to deal with a challenging and brutal year this year, they're going to be able to sit over and make up for that in spades. So next year, for all of you that play and gamble a little bit, my encouragement would be put a playoff, Memphis makes the playoffs, put one of those tickets in. It should be plus money or almost even money where you could double up. but Memphis is going to come out like gangbusters next year.
I will be, let's say, on the neutral end of that, just because of how difficult the West is. But I agree with you in principle. They will obviously be better next year. It is a devastating injury. Now, in terms of this season, it all really, to me, it falls on people with leadership qualities that are on that team. So to me, the way that their season is going to end is really, to me, solely predicated on Marcus Smart and Bain. Okay. Those two individuals are going to have to really just put on their workman boots and say, and we're not going to allow ourselves to degrade or erode to below the standard. We need to establish this is the standard of our team, and then have everybody else come along with them. But do we expect them to lose? Hell yeah.
Because I just can't even fathom you thinking that this team could do well after Ja's gotten re-injured when they couldn't do anything in the first 25 games. This is a cellar-dwelling team for this particular year.
Yeah.
Not in general, not overall, but in this particular year with Ja, with Adams out, the team is done. Now, again, what I look at is the team is going to get a high pick, and what type of moves can they make in the offseason to bolster this team just a little bit. But you got to remember, this is a phenomenal team. This was a team that last year was, I believe, the third seed in the playoffs.
They might have been
third or fourth seed. I can't remember which one, but it was a high seed. This was a team that could possibly challenge a Denver or any of those high seed.
They were probably the third. I think they were the third seed, and the reason why I know that is because they lost to the 7th seed, which was the Lakers, in the first round, and the Lakers were the 7th seed through the play-in extravaganza, and they solidified the 7th seed, and we beat them. I think it was like 4-1.
Yeah,
and so that means that they were the third seed. So yes, you're right. That team has talent. They are, let's say, viable, no doubt. This year. The reason why I even bring up those guys is because this is almost about like the mentality of the team overall. So when you got guys like Roby and I think it was his name Zimmerman, the Conchar, they have guys on their team that just need to understand that you're in the business of basketball, and you guys need to perform and put. It's almost like a football analogy. You need to put good film on so that they need to perform at a high level. And guess what? Whether or not Marcus Smart gets traded or not, Marcus Smart needs to put good film out there. So he needs to perform at a high level. And that's the new challenge for them. Are they going to be a playoff team? Nah. Are they going to be a play-in team? Maybe.
No.
But it's not like I'm holding my breath on it.
Now, what I like about what you're saying is that thought process of putting good tape on. But I don't look at it in terms of putting good tape on because you want to do that for other teams. What I look for this team is players that normally wouldn't play, having the opportunity to play and get really acclimated into that system.
They got a couple dudes.
Giles, right. Get into that system. So when you add these dynamic players back next year, when you add a high first round pick into the mix, that you have these other players that haven't been rotting on the bench, that have had the opportunity to have some highlights, have some great games, get truly comfortable within the system, and so they can be heavy contributors off the bench next year.
Yeah, and maybe they will even challenge whoever that first round draft pick is to say, hey, you're just not guaranteed these minutes. I'm now that dude too. So this is also about the development at this point of people on their team.
And I feel you on that, but if that happens, then the reality is, and they pick the wrong first round. They need to pick a first round where there's no questions.
No questions.
This is the deal. There's some other new news, and everybody was wondering what the Clippers were going to do. All of their stars weren't signing to extensions. Yeah, we're talking about all the cloppers, but you know what? Let me tell you something. If they see you. If they see you out here and you got your NBA at the bar shirt on at the game, they might jump you. Because let me tell you something. You're disrespecting a team that is obviously playing, and obviously James Harden was that missing piece, was that missing link to the team. But getting back to what we want to talk about, Kawhi signed his deal.
Yeah.
And just real quick, what's interesting about that is Kawhi sat over here and he managed to play all but 2 or 3 games until that deal is signed. It's going to be interesting to see how he finishes the season.
Oh, yeah.
And if he finishes the season just as proficiently in terms of playing and just as committed to playing as he was prior to the deal.
Well, you know what? Load management McGee, a.k.a. Kawhi Leonard, you know what? He's played at a high level for about 2 months now. And the Clippers look good. They look like the sexy pick. You know, if I'm a betting man, I'm feeling real good about them.
Okay.
They look real good. And the only thing that he really did, or not say the owner decided at this point, because of the way they look in this season and where they are placed currently. I think they're what? Fourth. I think they're fourth. Challenging third.
Mm-hmm.
So the Clippers are going to be, or I should say, Kawhi Leonard is going to be in the new arena. And so what the owner ultimately just said was, we have a legitimate chance to win the championship this year, and now I'm going to reward my rock bottom best player by giving him this extension. And now I might work on Paul George too, but I'm going to do that in an incentivized way, because I think that they have if I'm the owner, I have a legitimate thought that we could win the championship. And what would Ballmer want more than anything was to say, we won the NBA championship in the Lakers arena, and then guess what, folks? We're going to Intuit Dome.
Now it's funny that you say that. I actually think that he would want to win that first championship for the Clippers in the Intuit Dome. You didn't spend enough money. We better win it in this bad boy and not win it where we're paying rent at.
Well,
and I do believe that he's going to re-sign all 4 of the big 4.
I agree because it's not about money with him. It's just about
he just wants to win. He just wants to do something special.
Correct.
No, but the cap is you can pay the luxury tax, and he's all right with that.
Yeah,
if it leads to wins, if they get to the conference finals this year, knowing that he's just one little piece away, maybe 2. From sitting over here and winning the championship next year in their first year in the Dome. I think the NBA would like that too, because that place is so unbelievable to sit over here and have extended games where everybody is focusing in and having a chance to see this beautiful new age arena that all arenas are going to be transitioned to. I think that what you have is Ballmer leading the NBA from an owner standpoint in terms of what the future of the NBA is going to be.
The only thing that I will say to you is I just disagree about the timing. I think that what would be the ultimate is to win the championship this season and then go into a new arena with the defending championship team. Can you imagine?
Well, that makes financial sense, because when you win, you have everybody excited. Everybody's clamoring for those season tickets. I see what you're saying.
It would be, let's say, I've used this analogy a couple times because I love this movie from the 90s, the Spaceballs. But it would be ludicrous. It would be ludicrous speed. The amount of joy
in the 90s,
or maybe late 80s. Maybe late 80s, but early 90s. I think it was in the early 90s, but whatever. Go ahead and,
Spaceballs. That was a tricky movie that you love. Okay, I can see you loving that movie too.
Yes. You know what I love about that movie is when they come up with the black pick in the desert and they say, "We ain't found shit." That line right there was like, oh my God. It was
only our OG audience is gonna know about that scene, but I feel you.
But nevertheless, I just think that the Clippers are primed. They have, let's say, an ironclad 6, right? They got 6 guys in their rotation that can play at a high level, and the only thing that is going to affect them is injury, and they know it. So it's really about, what are we going to produce this year? Why don't we just say we're going to guarantee for our fan base that Kawhi is going to be here. We're not going to dangle him out. We're not going to do any.
I think Kawhi sat over there and said, "Pay me."
Yeah,
I don't think he left it out there. I think Kawhi does things quietly, sneakily. Yeah, because
he's not a vocal guy. No. But that's just why he has the nickname of Cyborg, because he literally comes in like the Terminator and just like, I'm going to just drop 30 in 2 steals and 6 assists, and there it is. And he does that when he's healthy, when his knee is good. Mm-hmm. He does that every time.
Mm-hmm. I don't think this is a team though that can be what we see happening now. The manifestation of what this team is becoming, what we're seeing unfold right in front of our eyes, I don't think it can be replicated without this big four. And so with the owner having almost endless pockets, I think he has the wherewithal to know that this big four, how they're playing now, has to go over into the Intuit arena.
It's a smart move.
It's a smart move. And when you financially can afford it, church.
Of course. And you know what? And you also hear rumblings through the media outlets that they're also trying to do the same thing with Paul George. Mm-hmm. So guess what? And maybe we do Paul George, and then maybe we do
Harden in the
off season,
or in the off season, right? Yeah. And then what's it called?
Westbrook.
Westbrook is easy. I think that's an easy deal. I think he knows where he is at this stage of his career.
Yeah, but
he wants a championship. And he wants a ring.
And this is what they're actually tailor made to be the team to challenge Denver. So as a Laker fan, I really want the Lakers to be the team that challenges Denver. But the truth of the matter is, the team that's really going to challenge Denver is the Clippers.
Right.
Period. So that's the team that's going to be like, look, Luke Jokic, you don't have this locked up. You're going to have to still grapple with us.
Well, it's funny you bring up Denver. My challenge with Denver is that was a great team. They remind me of the Houston Rockets back in the day that had a great team. Shot out and won it once. They were always competitive, but this was never going to be a dynasty. I don't look at Denver as a dynasty. I think we have Minnesota. With Ant-Man, that could be possibly the most athletic player in the NBA in terms of the most exciting player in the NBA outside of Ja. I think how that team is put together, I think they can do some good things. I think that they're a year away though, simply because they're all coming into their own. It's not like they've arrived; they're arriving now in this season.
Right.
But you also have OKC, which is this young bridle. They don't know what they don't know. And so this is a team that's just stacked with talent. It was a true rebuild that has been rebuilt at one of the finest levels of a rebuild that's ever been done. And I just think that they can just go out there and just play because they don't even know what they don't know yet.
Yeah.
But I think the Clippers have the seasoning, the
veteran-laden
squad. And I believe that,
I agree.
You know what, I think this ownership isn't silly in saying, hey, let's not rest on these laurels. We see we got some cooking. Let's see what we can add. One more individual for this year to kind of get us to that conference championship, if not get us to that NBA championship and maybe try to compete against the Celtics. But I think there might be one more move in there, but there's definitely another move or two going into next season as they go into that new arena.
You know, what's interesting about Denver is they remind me a lot of what the Lakers were with Kobe and Shaq. They are a team that they have a rock solid.
They do what they do good. Well,
yeah,
right. Like what they do good.
Their starting five is essentially without weakness. So then the question then becomes: in a 7-game series, are you any team? Do you have enough to beat that starting five?
And going to your point, the Clippers do, because you have Westbrook coming off the bench, and then you can break up that other 3 to play with Westbrook to still have a formidable second team.
Yes, and that's really what it is. Is it ultimately, all these coaches, they know each other, they play each other in spurts, and it's like, but if I gotta lock in and I gotta, they say, do my scouting reports on what you do well and take it away. You know what? They have the Denver has Contavious Caldwell Pope. They've got their power forward. They've got their small forward. They're just Murray is he's not Kobe, but he has a fire and desire with him and he's a big
characteristics.
Yes, Kobe. Yeah, he's Kobe light, but he's Kobe like. And he is a guy who's already proven that he can rise to the occasion. So they're a team that is tried and true and proven. They just won the ring last year. So then you have to understand that they're going to come into any series very confident and calm and will find a way. Do you have enough talent to supersede that? And that's what the rest of the league has to deal with. So yeah. It's interesting. It creates great theater. The Clippers are, of all of the others, I hate to dismiss Minnesota, but Minnesota feels very much like a team that is just winning the regular season. They don't necessarily scare me.
I feel you, but I think that's partly to do with you haven't seen AE, aka Ant-Man, up close and personal for 7 games.
No,
and what this playoff, this year's playoffs is going to do is either you're going to see this man sit over here,
he's going to either
rise or fall, a wall, or you're going to see this man go to the next level. There's nothing in between.
There is nothing.
Either he's going to propel this team to the championship, or they're going to flame out in the first round.
Yes.
Kind of just like how Memphis did last year against the Lakers.
Yeah.
It's not going to be anything in between.
You're right.
And so I'm excited about it. But I want to talk about something that's kind of, it did not resonate with me. It lowered my natural vibration. And
here's natural vibration. That sounds real fancy.
and here's where the reality is. When people do great things, I think they need to be acknowledged. I think they need to be celebrated. I think they need to be appreciated. And sometimes when you do great things, sometimes you got to make hard choices. Sometimes you got to do things that not everybody understands or realizes exactly what you're doing. But nonetheless, the choices that they've made, the results that they've produced have been phenomenal.
Okay,
and we
you're teasing
have to
me
respect
now.
that.
That's
what I do. I do the tease. I play with it a little bit. So here's what the deal is. I think it was last night or the night before last. The Chicago Bulls had a ceremony for their greatest players. Luke Longley took the long flight all the way out from Australia to be there. You know, most of the Chicago great were there. I don't think Pippen was there, and I don't think Jordan was there. But most of the greats from their heyday were there, and they were honoring them in front of everybody. And if you're honoring that
unit of the Bulls,
that era, you can't honor the players without talking about the general manager
who put them together,
who put it all together. And now, mind you, was Krause anybody's favorite? Probably not. Not the people that in that organization, not the fans, not the people on the peripheral like us. But anybody that is a basketball aficionado understands that their respect has to be recognized. And when he was recognized at that event with his wife in the wheelchair, you know, getting to the end of her life.
This is like heartstring stuff right now.
And then they booed him. They booed him. They didn't boo her. They booed him. But, you know, she took it so personally. She took it so harshly. And to watch that, I felt bad. And, I don't want to, be like, every other square.
You felt for her is what you're telling me.
I felt for her, and I just think we have to do better as fans.
Now
you know what I'm saying?
You know what's interesting
we
about
can talk
that?
shit if she wasn't there, but with her being there, we have to have some type of
the
understanding.
Thing is, see, now you over here saying it as though we have to be concerned with what is, let's say, politically correct and or dare I say, honorable.
No. If we're in the game, then we know what we signed up for. She wasn't in the game. She's just here in a wheelchair getting the award for the cat. So she didn't sign up to sit over here and deal with that. But if he was still alive, he would have sat over here and smiled and said, "But I still did the damn thing."
Well,
she's just over here getting beat up with it.
As the wife, you have to realize is that your husband is revered and
hated all
at the same time. And the bottom line is you shouldn't take it personally, even though you personally love that man.
Mm-hmm.
God bless you, and thank God that you were in his life. But guess what? That man is hated a lot in Chicago because he built the castle, and he was the person who also destroyed the castle. And by the castle, I mean literally he built the greatest team.
Did you ever play with Legos when you were young? I did.
Of course.
And I didn't follow the instructions like, our man from Indiana Pacers who sits over and builds all these things and follows the instructions. I built my own shit. And so I built big giant castles. I built big giant airlines.
And a million other children.
Right, unequivocally. But here's the twist is, if I built it, I can tear the fucker up.
Well, guess what?
But let me tell you something. If you came over the house and I built a big old ship this long, or a house this big, and you tore it up, you would have been fighting. Okay. Because you don't have the right to build to tear it up. He built it.
Here's the thing that I think that is being lost with his wife getting upset about it. His ego, and there was a lot of egos in that Bulls dynasty. His ego propelled him to build what is in the, let's say, the basketball annals as one of the best teams to ever be constructed, especially the one that had Dennis Rodman in it, right? Which was kind of like the Last Dance.
Which was phenomenal that he had the wherewithal to go get Dennis with all that baggage.
Of course. So, however, when it came to the moment of truth, and he got in the crosshairs with Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan. So the reason why that team got dismantled was because he did not align himself to his head coach and his star player. And they got dismantled.
You're unequivocally right.
So it's not shocking. She should not be in any shock and awe. Look, you took a team that won the championship the very year that you decided to get in your crosshairs about it. You brought Kukoc in. You brought Rodman in. Yeah, you brought all these guys in to essentially be, let's say, bridges to whatever new level that you wanted to take the team to. And you won at the highest level. And guess what? The city of Chicago said, we won the championship, and then we have not won the championship since.
And that's why you have to appreciate and respect the game that he did. Because they haven't done it.
No, what you have to understand is that fans are like
laymen.
Or no, they're rabid dogs. You need to feed them. You need to feed them like they're starving individuals. So the minute that they were successful at the highest level, and then you dismantled the team, and then Michael Jordan retired, it was like, how dare you?
Is it fair to say that's part of the game?
Of course it's fair.
So if it's part of the game, can we not like boo the widow?
Well, this is the fair is where they judge pigs. Okay, what I'm going to tell you is that it is not fair because her husband did a good job, but please believe that her ass is unfortunately dealing with the venom of her husband dismantling a dynasty, a dismantling Camelot. It's just
okay.
It's just the reality.
Here's what the deal is.
I can't feel bad for her.
Send your angry comments to this cat because I don't got nothing to do with that. I thought that was out of control, disrespectful.
I know that's very honorable.
I think the people of Chicago can do a little bit better than that. But G Money sits over here and says, "Hey, all is fair. Hey, it's all good."
No, look, and you know what? And it ain't about her. She has to realize this one simple point: it is not about you, boo. You were not in the GM room. You should not be upset.
So don't boo me.
Well, she's booing her husband's name, and guess what? You took his last name, so if you're going to feel bad about it, I'm sorry. But
and she got that money too, so it's all right.
There you go. There you go. Come on now.
But let me ask you about this. You know, NBA season is so long. It's 82 games, and the one thing that I've seen throughout my entire life, throughout 40 plus years of following basketball, is surges. And the surges in the NBA season have always been fascinating to me. And so, you know, we have two teams, one in the East, one in the West, that are in the midst of a big surge. We've talked about the Clippers surging and getting to where they're at now. We talked about that a few weeks ago. Well, we have a couple of new teams surging, and it's so funny. It's like what we saw with the Clippers is a surge, and they're maintaining where they surge to.
Yeah.
But many times teams surge and then fall off. We've talked about that several times.
Based on their schedule.
Based on the schedule, just based on off of where they are, based off of health.
Injuries. Yeah. Yep.
And so there are two teams that are surging. The Cavaliers, who have been decent in the last couple of years, have in the last week or so have come together and stood over here and found their sure-footedness. And they are springboarding off of that and now have surged. I think they've won 4 or 5 in a row.
Yeah.
And now have propelled themselves into the top 6. I think they might be 5th, if I know, 5th or 6th.
Yeah, look at you doing your homework. I
love my
it.
homework.
You know what?
The East Coast. And obviously, I don't watch them very often, but yeah.
Well, the only thing that I would say is the beautiful thing is because we have, let's say, Akron, Ohio, Cleveland roots, we understand the fanaticism that comes with the love associated with the Cleveland Cavaliers. It is at an absurd level. The only thing that will be trumped by that is the Cleveland Browns, who just got boo-bopped in the NFL playoffs.
They did. Mollywop.
Yeah, but other than that, I would say Cleveland loves themselves some Cavaliers. And so, you know what we're seeing is that Spider came back.
Yeah.
And he decided.
It's amazing how that happens.
Yeah. He decided. And I got to give her a lot of credit to their general manager because he's just basically put a lot of good players in position to succeed. Good coach. They're just rock solid. So the minute that Spider came back, it was like, of course you guys are going to jump up to whatever seed that you're at right now because you guys are a good team, but you've just traditionally been the bridesmaid. You're always going to be a playoff contender. And it's like, when will they pierce through? They've had some bad luck with injuries, but when Spider came back, it was
outside of Spider, who's a superstar on that team?
Their point guard, I can't think of his name right now.
So he's not a superstar.
No.
He's good.
They don't. Okay, so the truth of the matter is they don't have another superstar other than Spider.
And so my point is that's what's encouraging about a team like that. When you can have surges like this in the middle of the season, when you can sit over here and position yourself to be a legitimate playoff team, which they have been in the previous couple of years, which I believe they're positioning themselves to be at now the Spider's back, and I think they will be in the future. And you know they have Ibani in the G League right now. Who is it?
That dude, he's that dude.
But if you ain't seen what he's doing, dude, if you have not seen what he's been doing in the G League, he's averaging like 28 points, just giving out bars. Like this team is positioned it's just so hard to get a superstar to go to Cleveland.
Yeah, of course, because it's Cleveland.
You almost right, and if it wasn't for LeBron being from Akron, that would never have happened.
Right.
So basically, you have to build this team either completely organically and get people on those rookie deals, and you just have to get lucky to get the right individuals on the rookie deals, and develop them through the G League, develop them through through their first couple of years of their initial contract to kind of have a semblance of a deal. But to be able to sit over here and find a KD, some real top flight talent to go there is almost impossible.
Yeah,
and that's where the challenge with the team
they're
is.
similar to, let's say, if Milwaukee did not decide, or I should say, if Giannis didn't decide to, let's say, make roots.
If he wasn't from France,
Milwaukee,
they would be done. If he was from Brooklyn, he would never have stayed there.
Or I think he's Greek.
Greek, right? Yeah, Greek. Sorry, Greek.
Yeah.
Right. If he wasn't from Europe, he wouldn't. Agree. Like if he was American, he would be like, I'm not staying here under no circumstances.
Right.
They need to go get a European grade.
Well,
there's a European grade out there.
Here's what I would say about the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers just have a team of good players. You can honestly, let's say, look at their lineup and say that they probably go in minimum 10 deep to where you're like, I like every player on their team.
Every player is rock solid.
Every player is rock solid. It's just the fact is, one, they play in the East. Two, they play in boring Cleveland. Who cares about Cleveland? But then the third part of it is they're in the playoffs every year. It's just, are they going to burst through? Because they don't.
And they can't without that monster.
No, and they only
that
have
monster
one.
Got to come from Europe. That's just think of it. They are Denver. They're Denver without Jokic.
Okay, but see,
you understand how you need to find somebody that nobody else is on to become great, to break through.
And you know
because they've done everything else right.
You know what? I'm with you with it because I think is it Mobley that is their power forward who he's injured right now. I think
he's injured. Yes,
I think that's the guy.
Yeah.
The thing about Cleveland is, look, there is no other like superstar other than Spider on that team. But the problem with Spider is he might be 6'2". They might list him at 6'3", but he's like 6'2", so he's really like a smallish shooting guard. So it's kind of like Jalen Brunson but Jalen Brunson plays the point guard, but it's like Jalen Brunson on the Knicks. It's like you're a dynamic, try-hard guy, but when you run into the Celtics or the Sixers or Milwaukee, it's like you are at a mismatch, at disadvantage. I got too many guys over here that can smack your thing away, and at the end of the day, you're not good enough.
What do you do? If there's value there, trade them for what you need.
Trade them for what you need. The team,
because the rest of the team is great. The rest of the team is not great. The rest of the team is rock solid.
Yes,
they're if that's solid. Not the player, if that missing link is not the one to get you there, trade them, get somebody else, and then find an additional player.
Now, see, and then this, to me, I feel like we're giving away. Somebody needs to hire us because, yes, I agree with you, but at the same time, the problem that they are running into is just this. They are consistently going to be in the playoffs. So when you're in the playoffs, you always have a puncher's chance, and they understand that Spider gives them a puncher's chance.
You need to get on Instagram.
No, I agree with you. I think that most GMs think about it in this context. They look at when Allen Iverson, who's all of 6'1",
is Spider Allen Iverson,
and he just basically had a formidable defensive.
Spider Allen Iverson.
Allen Iverson was better.
How much better? A little bit better.
Marginally better.
What?
No.
Hey, Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't say it. I didn't say it. I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
It was we're
Do
talking
not
about
write
eras.
me.
The reason why I say that is, but that marginal better was a difference, and it was the league was different. But the thing about it is I think GMs fall in love with the idea of the Iverson formula, because what they essentially decided to do was, hey, we're going to just have a completely defensive oriented team, and then we're going to have a dynamic guy who can do everything.
Is Spider Hall of Famer?
It remains to be seen. I think that he has the potential to be, and is he on an arc to be a Hall of Famer? Absolutely.
If he's not in Cleveland, put him with the Lakers.
Oh, well, yeah. But see,
and then trade.
Hall of Fame goes with winning. So Hall of Fame goes with multiple conference appearances and finals appearances.
What was the Utah? John Stockton's in the Hall of Fame, ain't he?
But John Stockton went to the finals how many times? But no. No, he went to the finals, I think, 3 times. Please stop. He faced the Bulls twice, and he went through the Magic era to where he was in the Western Conference Finals at least 5 or 6 times. But he ran into Magic Johnson.
Oh,
that's
Magic.
Listen, the thing about John Stockton is John Stockton was the quintessential point guard, and everybody in
and he's special.
League,
he's a legitimate with or without titles. He was going to the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Spider ain't that.
No, he's not that. However, the thing is, he's so young that he has not. Let's say his story has not been written yet.
That's fair enough. Now, here's what Twist says. We talked about little John Stockton. Who did he play for?
Utah.
You know who's sitting over here getting it cracking? Utah Jazz over here on a 5-game.
Look at you in the segment. Look at you getting fancy.
I'll sit over here and get it cracking. 5-game streak. Hey, Utah. Mm-hmm. I'm not a believer. Right now, take a picture. I'm not a believer. But the proof is in the pudding. Substance is in the numbers. At the end of the day is their 5-game win streak. I don't know where this goes by All-Star Weekend, because that's always my barometer.
Yeah.
Where are teams at by All-Star Weekend to give me a semblance, an idea of where we're going to be at? What's the jockeying position going into the second half of the year? But I will tell you this. In this league, in this long of a season, especially at this time where people begin to lose focus and they are gaining focus, what do you believe is the Jazz's
what the final outcome of them?
No, not the final outcome, but just what's their secret sauce that they're using, or what have they done? Are they just on a quick hot streak where the schedule will allow them to go on this run, or is this something real? Is this something tangible?
You know, it is tangible from this one perspective. Okay, they have, let's say, 2 good centers in terms of just guys who can pass and shoot. They have I can't think of the guy's name. I'm going to butcher the name, but they have essentially a dynamic small forward, who's 6'9", and then Fontecchio, who has been like a surprise.
Fontecchio, right? That was like they pulled Fontecchio straight out of his behind, straight out their behind, and like boot. Okay,
So he's another, let's say, big.
But you see that European that people don't be sleeping on, that these teams at the top can find to sit over and greatly improve their team. Utah found that last year,
Right. So what we're talking about is similar to what we just said about Cleveland, right? At the end of the day, they have probably like 8 or 9 guys that are deep, that can play meaningful minutes and that can score and play make. And when you have a team that can do both things, you are dynamic. So when you go through the regular season, oh my God, guess what? We can win 2 out of our 3 games, and then we go on this cadence, and then guess what happens? We might win 4 in a row. Right now, they are in the play-in tournament, and
so
the Lakers
where do you see
out.
them a month from now, 30 days from now? We're right there, right about the a couple of days before the All-Star break. Where do you see this team? Is this team really fighting for a playoff berth, or is it a little smoke and mirrors and they just got excited and they're going to sit over and shoot their wad and be back?
No, I think that the only thing that will change the dynamic is a trade in the West, which I hope that the Lakers can do. But if the Lakers do nothing and they stand pat, I think that they are going to be the team that's going to be that 8 or 9 seed. I think the Utah Jazz, barring injury, will be the 8 or 9 seed. And then you're talking about essentially, everybody else who's kind of on the back end, and the Lakers are on the included in that back end, are going to be fighting for that 10th seed. Now, I would say the interesting thing about the West is anywhere from, let's say, 7 to 12, there's a difference of a game and a half.
All right,
between
so there's a whole lot of shaking up to do, and again, especially at this time when it's kind of a log jam. It's all about, for me, when we get to that midway point, and who is surging, who is ascending, who is stagnant, and who is descending.
Yes.
We have to make those judgments. I can't wait for that show, because then we'll have a much, not a crystal clear, but we'll have a much clearer idea of where these teams are going and where they're at.
Absolutely. But with respect to the Utah Jazz, I expect the Utah Jazz to be firmly in like a 9 or 8 seed.
So you feel confident with them? I mean, for me, I think that's their ceiling.
Yeah.
And then the thing is that what you're telling me is you feel confident that that's their ceiling.
Yes, because I like their overall just team, and I think that Clarkson is going to be the 6-man difference maker for them.
Okay.
The only thing that impacts them is injury. So when they get injured, they lose. In any one position. So there's a little fragility there. But look, they have, like I said, about 8 or 9 guys who can perform at a high level. Want me to reconfigure what it is that I'm saying. Look, when I say high level, I mean, we're not talking about these guys are going to be world beaters. Okay. But what I'm saying is, can you give me 10 points, maybe 10 rebounds, and can
but that's important. Like, there's value to that. So as I feel you on that, but it's like we talk about SGA performing at a high level. When you compare these individuals to that, it's like you had me. I'm tied to you. You had me looking like a stone cold.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Booing by humbug. Okay, I hear you. So fine. Not a high level.
I just want to be a little bit. I just want to be a little bit more critical with how we talk about these individuals, because you know how the NBA gets, and it is kind of blurred, and you are kind of spilling this. He got a hole in his lip.
Okay, fine.
So you understand what I'm saying? So,
I do understand.
Just give me the point. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
And so that's the only thing is I want there to be a differentiation. I don't want people to believe that you don't know what you're talking about, because I know you do. I know how you cover this game, and I don't want people to believe I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, I'm co-signing what you're talking. You're crazy talking about individuals or playing at a high level.
You know what's interesting is when I say high level, I think about it in this context. Everybody who has made it to the NBA is a good player. So what we're talking about is that when we talk about all the players in the entire world, these guys are that little cluster of 300 plus, right?
So how do we get the upper echelon. What's the differentiation? Super duper phenomenal. Like
yeah, I understand. So, but so when we talk about stars, right? So there's stars and superstars. So stars and superstars basically are the guys who perform at that 20 point plus and something else level every year.
Can we go superstars or at 30? Can we go superstars at the 30?
Yeah.
Stars are at the 20.
Yeah.
And good players are at 15 to 20.
Yes.
And everybody else is a 10 to 15 is rock solid solid player.
Yes. So I agree fundamentally. So when I say somebody playing at a high level, I think that I'm just giving a little bit of respect to the league overall. But you're right.
Allow me to give you some parameters.
Yeah. So we need parameters, right? Okay. Yeah. You're giving me a little bumper like the A in the circle.
But here's what this. We've talked about the Cavs. We talked about the Jazz. What we'd love to talk about on this show, and between you and I, is not the periphery of good players.
Mm-hmm.
What we really thrive at and dig into and truly get goosebumps with is the MVPs, individuals that have the opportunity to get to be the very best in the league. That's because that's where our attention lies. Like really dials in and focuses in on. And so what I've seen over the past, say, 10 days or so, is there are two people that kind of separating themselves. And you tell me if you agree. I look at Embiid, that is again now leading the league in scoring, and I look at Luka.
Oh, in terms of MVP?
In terms of MVP. I agree. 3. And we talked about Luka before, but I've been a long-standing Luka hater. Not because Luka couldn't play, but just because I was a fan of the Lakers and Luka was giving us the business in previous years. So, now with that, I have to be kind of agnostic and just kind of take my fandom out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I've come to find myself to really appreciate what Luka does day in and day out. And statistically, in 3 of the 6 leading statistical categories, Luka's in the top 5. And so, let me tell you something. If it wasn't for me really diving into this, and
you already heard me say that. That's low key. I said low key, but I guess I can't say low key.
Yes, I heard that before. We've had many arguments, and now it pains me, but I have to acknowledge, right? Appreciate, and respect the fact that what you're saying. Luka is the deal, and these two individuals, in my opinion, are jockeying for MVP. So at this point now that we're 40% through the season, if you were to pick one of the two players, Embiid or Luka, who would you be picking as league MVP?
I would still pick Embiid because of the team's record. So look, at the end of the day, they are number 2, I think, right now, and they could vacillate between 2 or 3 depending. But when the absence of Harden, he still has his teams the number 2 team in the freaking Eastern Conference. So, and he's leading the league in scoring, and he's what, top 5 at least, maybe top 3 in rebounds. Joel Embiid is that dude.
Is playing like he's playing on a level of gangster that I don't think any of us really saw him with this level of consistency. You're talking about now. We're talking about we're going into 110, 120 games of him playing at a super high level, when before we were talking about he was going on 30, 40 game spurts of it playing at such a high level. Now we're looking at, well over 100 games of him playing consistently at a high level. And you know what? I can't hate on that. I can't dismiss that. But I will tell you this: the type of up and downness that Luka's having to perform. I think with Kyrie being out, he had to perform at such a high level. But we've seen him maintain that high level when Kyrie has come back. And so when you look at it, I think Luka is the narrative champion.
Okay,
I think everybody's been wanting him to have this type of season to finally be recognized league-wide that they never have recognized him. Now you talk about the record. I think he was up there with a record when Kyrie was healthy. Kyrie took a significant leave of absence because of health injuries. But I believe with Kyrie back and them getting acclimated, let's wait and see before I'm willing to really make a choice. Let's wait and see where they're at after they play another 30 days with both of them together to see where he's at in terms of statistically.
Yeah, because Kyrie is doing stupid numbers right now. Correct. Also.
But he's been hurt the last couple of days, so that allowed Kyrie to shoot up.
Yep. Okay. So, look, the thing about Luka is very simple. This is the easy button for his career. He has always performed well in the regular season. He's put up stupid numbers before. This is not new to anyone. The thing that he now needs to do is he needs to essentially advance in
But it
the
seems
playoffs.
like he cares. It seems like these European players don't really care about the extras, the awards, the how far we go in the playoffs. It seems like they're a little bit aloof in that perspective. But I do get a sense that he cares this year for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I just get a sense that he cares now.
And I don't disagree with that. I would just say that he should care. It's kind of like what we said about the Clippers. Look, this is the year to where if Luka is going to put his Luka stamp on the league, this is the year to do it. And it's just like with the NFL. There are certain teams and players that need to establish their greatness to be great and to get into the proverbial upper echelon of Hall of Fame and greatness. And this is the year to where Luka has to do that also. So what he does in the regular season,
I don't think he has to, but I think he's doing it.
He's only because he's young enough to where if he doesn't do it this year, nobody's gonna
It's not like his career sinks.
No,
or it's not like he's on his last leg.
No, right. But if I'm him, I'm tired of being the bridesmaid.
When he has the ability, and part of the thing, what I think he's tired of is everybody hoping and wishing on him and him never doing it. I think that's what, and then all of the aftermath of him not doing it, I think he's tired of that.
Yes. I agree.
And so, like I said, Embiid, I'm not taking nothing from him.
If he wins it,
I'm going to throw a party. If Luka wins it, I'm going to sit over
here. It will be well-deserved.
I might not throw a party, but I'll never drink to him and say touche. Right. Like, a respect.
Yes.
Will be established.
I'm surprised that I agree with both of your takeaways because I agree. Those are the two guys.
Hey, that's what you tend to do.
And you know what? See, man, you gonna have me on the next episode where I'm about to just disagree with you.
It's all right. You don't gotta disagree, brother. When we were live, that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
Don't try to put me together now. So the warm and cozy cloak.
The last deal was that we've had the opportunity to talk about East Coast versus West Coast.
Yeah, we touched on it.
And right, the East Coast division versus the West Coast division, and for a long time in our lives, we've actually seen many swings. We've seen East Coast Conference swings where the East Coast was dominant. We talk about the Bad Boys. We talk about the Chicago Bulls. We talk about the Knicks that had dominant but gave up the booty. We talk about the Cavaliers. I mean, we've seen East Coast. I wouldn't even necessarily say dominance, but just winning it all.
Yeah.
But I would say, moreover, more times than not, we've seen the West Coast be the dominant factor. And it's almost kind of in the past 10 years, the perception is that the West Coast is always a dominant conference and the East Coast is like the
that might be our slant, but the statistics back us up. So look, there are teams in the East Coast that have 2, 3, 4, 5 game losing streaks to where they're 2 or 3, 4 or 5 games below 500. I can point to the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
And it's like there's some doldrum teams
out like that are the play-in is different on the East than the West.
It's absurd. So when you just look at the generic canvas of the league, just blindly looking at the league, I would say that the quality of teams are by far and away more in the West Coast because...
Well, let's put some hardcore statistics to it. The top 8 teams are above 500.
Or in the West Coast.
In the West Coast. Top 8 teams in the East Coast are above.
I think
no, they're above 500. The twist is 9 and 10.
Yeah,
on the East Coast or significantly below.
Yeah, they're like 4 or 5 games up below.
But the 9 and 10 on the West
are like 500 or just 1 game below.
So really, what we look at between the two conferences is one is extremely top heavy. The other one has more talent through the deal. Now, all that matters is that it's going to be difficult to get to that championship. We're going to see greater playoffs with the West. Yeah. But that doesn't negate the fact that the concentration of talent at the top of the East is not formidable. Yeah. That does not have the ability to spank the West Coast team that comes out of the Western Conference into the finals.
At the end of the day, it's still just one team.
Because the Celtics are looking phenomenal. Minnesota is still, Milwaukee, the Bucks are looking phenomenal. And obviously Philly is looking phenomenal. So the East Coast is heavy, and you have young teams below that. We saw what the trade with Anunoby did for the Knicks.
Yes.
And so my whole twist is that the trade deadline isn't done. So there's a lot that can be done in the East with a couple of those teams that are in the mix. Indiana. Imagine if they get a rock solid piece that can completely be the Rubik's Cube, twist to unlock that monster. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. It was interesting about them. I don't see Indiana doing, let's say, a monumental deal. I just don't. However, because I think that they still want to see what their young guys are going to do.
Indiana has said we're active. We think we got some here, and we're not going to break up our nucleus. But if we can ship off 2 or 3 plus a draft pick to sit over and get an additional monster to mask the inefficiency that we currently have to make us competitive now, they're saying they're willing to do that. And that's interesting, because what they're building, and I think they're building something so special that you can't go slow. But there's nothing more than I love than an aggressive leadership, ownership group that wants to win now.
And all I have to say is it's all pie in the sky until they actually pull the trigger. So right now, nobody's pulling a trigger. They're all just talking about it, and they're all just saying,
"Well, they're all looking at the landscape to make the move. Remember that there's a window of trade, and we're coming close. And in the next couple of weeks, that window is going to be closed, and we're going to have an opportunity to discuss that. But I think that these teams know where they're at. I think teams know. It's funny about the NBA. You know who's special and who's not.
Yeah.
And so the teams that are special, that are either vying for the 4, 5, 6, or vying for the 11, 10, 9, the 9, 10, 11, like either you're vying to get into the game or you're vying to sit over here and go to the next level. I think there's two different buckets in each conference. Agree. And I think the Pacers are a team that knows what they have. It's like they feel, unlike the Lakers, they feel we got to the fucking finals of the in-season tournament because we got something special here. And it's like the Lakers sit over here and say, we only got to the in-season tournament because LeBron put us on their back. We're actually not so special. That's what it kind of feels like and looks like.
Okay. So here's what I would say generally, right? All of these teams and all of these individualized players, including players that are on the Lakers roster, what they want to say is that I can't emotionally commit to you until after the trade deadline. Because after the trade deadline, I don't want to put up any specialized ass numbers or commit and shoot an extra 300 shots a day if I know that I'm about to be in Sacramento tomorrow.
Right.
I don't want to do it. Right. So it's only after the trade deadline when everybody knows, guess what? I'm still on the team. I'm still on the team. Oh, then you can see the real genuine dig in for everybody. So I understand why D'Angelo Russell and anybody else, I understand why all of them are let's say not giving their best effort. However, it behooves their own, let's say, career to put up subpar performances. So they need to think about it from the context of that. Don't put up subpar performances. Don't do that, because whether or not you're staying on the team that you're on or you're going to somebody else, people in positions of power want to understand what it is that I'm getting.
Right.
And you are always being judged. Always know that. You're being judged every time, every single second. So you need to understand that. Just because you have millions of dollars and you can buy yourself a million hamburgers does not mean that you're not being judged. You are.
And also doesn't mean that you're not wimpy.
Yeah.
From Popeye. Hey, is there anything else in this NBA landscape in this week? You know, it was a quiet week.
It was.
But this is still a whole lot of moving parts. There's still a whole lot of things working. What I am excited of is as we get closer to the All-Star break, you know, there is going to be a lot of action. I think teams are going to be rushing to that deadline in terms of jockeying for position. But this is when the NBA, the people that love the game, that love the league, really dig in, dial in, and understand what's going on here. And I think that's what we're doing, is we're sitting over here talking about stuff that's not necessarily normally, it's not the most exciting, but it is what's happening in this league as we formulate the plan
Mm-hmm.
to get to the end of the season. And so this is exactly how the sausage is made.
Yes.
And this is what I love about the NBA is this time when the sausage is being made and we can really vet that out in terms of these teams that are really going to play a significant role at the end of the season. And so super fired up and excited. You know,
I am too. I would just say, look, there's a lot of guys on the chopping block,
mm-hmm. As they are every year,
and every year
mm-hmm.
this happens.
Mm-hmm.
If you really like the team that you're on, ball out,
step up and get it done.
Mm-hmm. Make it hard for them to trade you.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do that, you are just cattle.
Mm-hmm.
To be traded. So the D'Angelo Russells of the world,
mm-hmm.
the Reeves of the world. Guess what, buddy? You need to ball out. You need to understand that your contract is on the line.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's what's exciting. That should be a sense of urgency.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the only thing is the NFL is great at the NFL trading deadline and making the excitement about it,
mm-hmm.
which inevitably permeates into the players. I think the NBA needs to do a better job at sitting over here and
understanding
or pumping up this situation that sit over here and puts the urgency on the players. Because you put the urgency on the players, they sit over and say, we got guaranteed contracts, I'm getting paid. Put that outside urgency on it, which is really the fans and individuals like us that talk about it, to put them on blast. You know.
Yes, because I think that all of them are worthy of, let's say, consideration and value that they can provide, but it just comes down to a simple thing: wins and losses. And one I think that players lose sight of is that it's all about your team winning.
It's all about your team winning, but it's also about what was your contribution.
Yes, your contribution, no doubt, but your team has to win. Correct.
Yeah.
If you don't like the idea of people poking holes in your game,
mm-hmm.
then make sure your team wins. If it's really that simple.
Mm-hmm.
If your team loses, guess what's going to come with losing? Losing means there's going to be people who are going to criticize your game.
Your play becomes a catalyst of why they're losing.
Correct.
Hey, and so with that being said, you know, I got a multi-poo.
Wrap it up.
That's out of here.
Wrap it up. I already know.
You heard it, and I got to tinkle. So,
well, look, man, I love the fact that we could just sit here and gibber and do our dizzle. And look, the NBA is great, and I can't wait for the playoffs to come, and we're going to get into them even more. So, Church on the Move.
Truly appreciate you, without a doubt.
Go ahead and do your dizzle.
And with all y'all, if y'all enjoy and you see how much passion, how much we dig into this, I need you to like, I need you to subscribe, I need you to download.
We care about this damn thing.
We care about this thing, and we care about this thing and this thug life for all of y'all, so y'all can sit over here and have some fun and have an alternative to these. All the
Skip Bayless. You love to talk about
Skip Bayless and
you love to talk about Skip.
And if you want just how y'all think, how y'all talk over a cocktail, Tune in to us next week because guess what? This season is just getting interesting.
Oh, yeah. We about to have some more ignorant shit.
Yes.
Watch out.
With that, watch out. Church. Appreciate y'all. Have a good evening. Appreciate y'all. Church on the Moon.
Please believe it.